Growing up has been interesting. I think for the most part, my story is pretty universal. I hit the same milestones anyone growing up will. I found out my dad wasn't invincible. I found out I have a lot more wrong with me beneath the surface than I realized. I found myself having to make a ton of decisions that would forever change my life. But at one pivotal moment in history, I had the choice of going to my home in New York with my dad, where I would know what to expect and never worry about encountering a situation that I didn't know about, or going to Switzerland and following my mom where she found work. This was during my last year of high school, and obviously I took the latter. I could go into details about why I really loved the place. I could talk about the nature or the train rides or the fact that I found my first true love, but I think in the biggest way, what I really took away from it was that I grew up too fast. I'm now in college studying in Rome because I wanted to recapture the magic that I found in Switzerland, but that leap of faith that I took to get out here tore everything I thought I knew into a million pieces. I found out this true love that I felt was actually an obsession, and my relationship that was deep and spilled into recesses of my heart that I felt were impenetrable all of a sudden became painful, and eventually everything faded away. My relationship with my best friend started losing its momentum, and I was held responsible for a lot more than I expected. I realized, at least for tiny liberal arts colleges, that this period of study isn't about sex or even studying. It isn't about drinking or someone trying to make money. I think most of us do, but down inside, we're all just as confused as the next person and a lot more confused than the adults that we're working with. College is this funny intermediate period where your feet are dipped way further into adulthood than they used to be, but you're not exactly waist deep. I think it's a time to figure out who you are. Friends are good, but I can't think of the amount of times when I woke up and everything I thought I knew had been spilled over the table like a box of Legos and my friends became unrecognizable. It's time to grow comfortable in your own skin, because when everything changes, and everything does change, knowing who you are becomes incredibly important, just like knowing what the next part of your life is supposed to look like. Once again, a lot of this can be said as universal. But anyways, while college was scary at first, and while I didn't know what to expect or where I was headed, being that alone, an ocean away from my home, or a 6-hour drive from my favorite country, it made me feel calm after a while. It made me appreciate family. All those car rides and nature walks and going shopping at Target. It made me appreciate little things like taking myself out to eat or buying a Blu-ray. What I learned when growing up was the importance of self-love. And I know it's cliche and probably a little boring to hear, but there's a reason I'm not the first to say it. I now feel confident I can handle any challenge, because I know when the dust settles, I'll still be myself, and there's a peace in that. I'm not chasing anything other than being centered and cultivating rich, meaningful experiences for myself. But what I learned when growing up is that we're all just overgrown children, and that isn't bad. The shy ones are still shy, the mad ones are still mad, and the fun ones are still fun. I think when we were kids, though, we tolerated a lot more bullshit. Our brains were poopy, and so were our friends, but now we have big brains, and we have money, and instead of pretending to buy our friends out of plastic jail, we buy plastic cars and trips to Malaga and dreams and maybe even someone's love. But when it doesn't work out, the loud ones yell and throw tantrums, and the quiet ones take it, just like they did as kids. There is no growing up. There's only time. Time that moves faster or slower depending on your age, and friends that either remind us of who we used to be or suck the life out of us by lying and stabbing and conniving. One saying my mom continuously reminded me of when I was still heartbroken and not sure how to deal with emotions so strong is that some people are in for a time, a reason, or a season. A time being forever, a reason being, personal, and a season being due to circumstance. I hated the saying at first. I thought it sounded weird, and saying it makes you sound like you're 50, but it grew on me. And it grew on me because of a thought I had on a plane, actually. Imagine your life, all the people you meet, all the hands you've shook, lips you've kissed, and eyes you've looked into. Imagine how deep and full of stories and ideas your own life is. Now imagine that the person whose eyes you last looked into probably has an equally rich and deep life, if not even more so. And if they're meant to stay in your life, for a moment your paths are aligned. when you're in the same room, on the phone, or playing Dungeons and Dragons, but like all things, they'll peel away, and both of you will continue your own lives. They have people they'll meet, and you have people you'll meet. And eventually, with this extremely long daisy chain of eye contact, the whole human race is connected. And people will come in and out of your life, but they will mine as well, and everyone else's, We're simultaneously convincing ourselves that we are so alone, and yet we're all a constant. Each one of us has their own people who are there for a time, reason, or season. When it comes to external love, you're trying your best to make yourself enticing and interesting and fun, because there are fewer feelings worse than disappointing someone you look up to, especially in romantic love. So, while those people are there, if you don't actually love yourself, if you don't live with intention, if you don't make decisive moves on who you are as an individual, they'll notice you're putting up a front and you'll crumble, like I did. What you do with your self-love is up to you, ultimately. If you like hurting people, saving people, making people smile or cry, that's your life. No one can tell you that's wrong. All you can really do is hope someone can be a good enough listener to hear what you have to say. And if you're truly ready for it, they'll like what they see. What I learned when growing up was that even though I spent a long time trying to convince people that I was this independent person, it wasn't until I lost everything that I realized I was. But I don't have to be. No one does. We don't choose what hurts us, we just hurt. And in that way, no matter who we are, we all share a universal burden. I guess life isn't really so personal. Thank you for watching my video. I hope you got something out of it. I want to do these a lot more just because they're fun, and I enjoy sitting in my professor's desk and recording audio for a YouTube video. That'll probably be no more than 5 minutes. Thank you so much. Have a good rest of your day.